Wilmington, made it through Philly, made it to New York. She changed her name from Araminta Ross to Harriet Tubman to hide her identity and to honor her mother. She helped all of her siblings escape. She helped her mother and father escape. They begged her not to go back on the Underground Railroad. And Queen Mother Harriet said, "Mom and Dad, God gave me this mission. You cannot stop me from doing the will of Almighty God." And Queen Mother Harriet made over 30 trips to the South, freeing all kind of ancestors. She even freed some of my relatives, the Bailey family. And after the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman got a phone call from the Secretary of War for Abraham Lincoln's Union Army. They asked Harriet Tubman to come on down to South Carolina. They said, "Harriet, we can use you in the Union effort as a nurse. We can use you as a spy. We can use you as a scout." And Queen Mother Harriet Tubman became the first and only woman in American history to lead soldiers into battle in the U.S. military. She commanded United States colored troops on the Combahee River Raid, and in one operation, they freed over 750 of our enslaved ancestors. But Harriet Tubman didn't stop there. Harriet Tubman bought a home in Auburn, New York that still stands today. If you've never been to the Harriet Tubman Home Museum, I suggest y'all get a trip on up to the Harriet Tubman Home Museum. She opened up an old folks home for elderly black people. This was a woman who allegedly was illiterate. How many illiterate people you know opens up elderly homes? And then Harriet Tubman opened up a hospital for sick Africans and sick enslaved Africans. So this little old black woman, no education, got an old folks home. This little old black woman, no education, has a hospital. And then Harriet Tubman doesn't stop. Harriet Tubman opens up a farm, brothers and sisters. She started raising her own animals to sell them and make money to pay for the hospital in the old folks' home. I'm talking about the greatest woman to ever walk on American soil. Not the greatest black woman. There ain't a woman who ever set foot on this continent who is as great as Queen Mother Harriet Tubman. And when Harriet Tubman was old, they sat Harriet Tubman down and they said, "Woman, who do you think you were?" And Harriet Tubman said, "Listen, I didn't have to pray to God. I spoke to God. And whenever I had a problem, I would ask God to help me out." She said there was plenty of times on the Underground Railroad I almost got captured. But whenever I found myself in a situation, I would ask God to let me on up out. And every time I did that, the Lord never failed me. She said, if I would have died though, if God would have let the white man take me, I would have went peacefully to my death and accepted it as a message from the Almighty that I had done my duty and it was time to come on home. Queen Mother said, every time I led slaves on the Underground Railroad, I took a rifle. I kept a handy firearm. They said, "Why did you do that?" Queen Mother Harriet Tubman said, "Because I had some Negroes who didn't believe in freedom. I had some Negroes who didn't have no faith in their ability to get away from the white man. I had some Negroes who believed more in the power of the slave empire than they believed in themselves." And she said, whenever a Negro thought about going back, I would put my rifle up to his temple, I would cock that gun back, and I would say, quote, "Dead niggas tell no tales. You go on or you die here." And she said, because of that, I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger on the Underground Railroad. But Queen Mother Harriet said, I got one regret, just one. I freed hundreds of slaves. I could have freed thousands. The problem was they didn't even know that they were slaves. And then there's another ancestor by the name of Booker T. Washington, who was born a slave in Virginia right before the Civil War. This little black boy whose mother was raped by a white man walks all the way to Hampton Institute. He gets to Hampton, a black school founded by a white man. He couldn't afford to pay the tuition. So he asked and was granted an opportunity to work his way through Hampton on a work-study scholarship. After Booker T graduated, he got a phone call from the black community in Tuskegee, Alabama. They said, we need a Negro to come on down here and teach black people how to make a living. Booker T took the job. He gets to Hampton. There's no school. So they start waiting on some handouts from the state government. Sounds familiar? They start waiting on some handouts from the state government. Sounds familiar? Booker T. Washington said, we ain't waiting on no damn handouts from the white man. Tuskegee will be an independent school, not a state school. So he used the old barn, old church, half-finished building as the first campus for Tuskegee Institute. When the first students get to Tuskegee, they walk up to Booker T. Washington and they say, Dr. Washington, where is the dormitory? Where is the cafeteria? Where is the bathroom? And guess what Booker T. Washington told those black children? He said, you standing on it. And Booker T. Washington, the man who inspired the greatest black leader in modern history, the most honorable Marcus Garvey, to build the largest black movement of all time, told those students, roll up your sleeves. We're going to dig up this ground and we're going to make our own buildings. We're going to grow our own food. We're going to sew our own clothing. Some of those children dropped out. Some of them children said, I'm not doing it. But Booker T kept on going. And then Booker T said, I need me a science teacher. He heard of a black man by the name of Dr. George Washington Carver, who was the first of his race to get a PhD in agricultural science in Iowa. At the time, Dr. George Washington Carver was considered the #1 scientist in America, not black, period. White people were trying to recruit Dr. George Washington Carver to be part of the pharmaceutical industry, the military industrial complex. George Washington Carver turned it down. He went to Tuskegee. And when he showed up in Alabama in that 120-degree weather, he went to Booker T. These two black men born in slavery stared each other down. And George Washington Carver asked Booker T, where's my lecture hall? Where's my science lab? Where's my agricultural clinic? And guess what Booker T told George? He said, George, all we have is what you see. We need you, George, but we don't have nothing to give you. And that black man, castrated as a child, who never had children, because the white folks he lived with removed his reproductive organ from his body. George Washington Carver went to the trash of Tuskegee, Alabama, and out that trash, he took copper, he took tin, he took wood, he took aluminum, he took steel. And from the garbage of college students, that black man, born a slave, gave us more than 300 products from the peanut. That black man, born a slave, gave us more than 200 products from the sweet potato. That black man, born a slave, gave us hundreds of products from the soybean. My question to you today, Miami, Florida, Miami Gardens, Miami-Dade County, my Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach and Hollywood family, how is it that we are a $2 trillion people as American African? $2 trillion we waste every year. George Washington Carver didn't have a penny. Booker T didn't have a penny. Queen Mother Harriet didn't have a penny. How could they do all that with nothing? And yet you got $2 trillion and have done next to nothing. Brothers and sisters, Sister Tamaya is over here. That means it's time for you to wrap it up. So here's what I want to say as I close. They don't call me Big Papa for nothing. I want to say this as I close. Some of you know 4 years ago we bought a school in Wilmington, Delaware. The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RPG Academy. And I'm happy to report to my Florida family today that we are about 2 weeks from completing the renovations on the elementary school. I want to thank all of you who have donated. I want to thank all of you who have stood by us through thick and thin, the haters and the detractors. And I want to personally invite all of my supporters to Wilmington, Delaware, which is only 20 minutes from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania International Airport. Fly into Philly and drive 20 minutes to the front door of your school, my school, our school. We're going to have a grand opening the week of Kwanzaa this year, brothers and sisters. That's December the 26th to January the 1st, and I want you to come. There's going to be food, there's going to be speakers, workshops, seminars, focus session, think tank strategy meetings, but most of all, you get to see the school that many of you donated to. You get to see a school that was built without no federal money, no state money, no white corporations at all. 100% black dollars built the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. And if you want to work at my school, send me your resume. We need math teachers, we need science teachers, we need reading and language teachers. But we also need black women who know how to do natural hair, because within 3 years, we will be adding the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Princess Academy for our girls. And our daughters can only attend my school with their own natural hair. And if you want to work at my school, you can only work at my school with your own natural hair. There will be no weave, no perm, no European hair color, or no straightening combs at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. And why? Because His Excellency, the prophet of Pan-Africanism, the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, don't take the kinks out of your hair, take the kinks out of your mind, black woman. I want y'all to find a school building down here. I want to open up Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Miami. I want Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Fort Lauderdale. I want Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Hollywood. I want Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Orlando, Tallahassee, St. Petersburg. I want Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Daytona. Find me a building. Get me the building, and we'll take care of the rest, brothers and sisters. But until that time, your son can fly up to FDMG. He could go to Africa with us. He could go camping with us. He can learn how to use guns with us. He can get his African martial arts with us. He can learn his African languages and every other program we have with us. So even if your son doesn't live in Delaware, he can still be a part of our summer academy, our holiday academy, and our weekend academy. But not only that, we are working on a virtual academy where your son can be right here in Miami, wake up, get on his laptop, sign into the class. He can see his teacher and classmates, and the teacher and classmates can see him. We will have a virtual academy within 3 years, brothers and sisters. If you want to work at the school, send me your resume. You have my cell number. Text me for the email address for the resume. Do not worry about being a certified teacher. Private school certification is different from public school. The only question I'm asking you, do you have a skill that black children can benefit from if they learned it? Maybe you know how to sew. You want to teach the children how to sew. Maybe you build computers. You want to teach the children how to build computers. Maybe you speak 5 or 6 languages and you want to come to the academy and teach our children how to speak 5 or 6 languages. If you got a skill that our children can learn, we can put you on contract or you can volunteer. And if you can't be there every day, we can bring you up 1 week in a month so you can teach your skill set to our children. We're talking revolution. And although it's a school by day, it's a black community organizing center by night. We will have the Black Women's Conference. We will have the Black Man's Conference. We will have the Black Elders Conference, the Black Farmers Conference, Black Media Conference, Black Comic Book Conference, Black Youth Conference. Everything we need, we will do it at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Before I leave with my closing quote, if you have an African-centered school in South Florida, we have an African-centered school in South Florida. Where's Sister Cheryl at? Wave your hand, Sister Cheryl, so they can come to you. Where is she? Right there. Y'all need to go see that sister. Y'all need to go see Sister Cheryl. The new Al-Kabalan School, and by the way, Al-Kabalan is an ancient name for Africa. The new Al-Kabalan School is located in Lauderhill, but it serves students in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. The entire curriculum all year round is African-centered and project-based. The state of Florida is not just removing Black history, but actively miseducating our children by mandating things like teaching how slavery benefited Blacks. Avoid the miseducation and gender politics in the public school. Enroll your child in the new Al-Kabalan School. The one good thing about Florida, you can get $10,000 voucher, $10,000 that you can use towards any private school in the state of Florida. So y'all need to get with Sister Cheryl, get your $10,000 voucher, and put your child in the new Al-Kabalan School. Give Sister Cheryl a hand. Black power. Black power. Black power. I leave you with the words of my 4 times great-grand-cousin, the greatest Black leader of the 20th century, his name, Frederick Douglass. My family came to America in 1701. A Black man named Bailey stolen from Nigeria. He married a Black woman by the name of Selah after he was brought to Maryland. They had my grandmom Jenny in 1745. 1774, they had my grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy married a free Black man, my grandpop Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet. Another daughter was named Young Betsy, my 5 times great-grandmother. These 2 Black women were raped by the white man who owned our family. As a result of that rape, in 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to cousin Frederick Bailey. But at the age of 20, cousin Frederick Bailey would run away from Maryland, through Delaware, through Pennsylvania, and change his name to hide his identity. So in 1838, cousin Frederick Bailey became the Honorable Frederick Douglass. In 1819, my grandmother, young Betsy, gave birth to Frederick's half-brother and first cousin, my 4 times great-grandfather, Stephen Henry Bailey. Cousins, because their mothers were sisters. Half-brothers, because the slave master raped 2 sisters. My grandpop Stephen married grandmom Caroline. They had my grandpop George. Grandpop George married grandmom Annie. They had grandmom Caroline. She moved to Philadelphia. She had grandma Vivian. Grandma Vivian married grandpop Cicero, a Spanish-speaking Afro-Cuban from Havana. They had my grandmom Ida. She met and married James Johnson. They had Jamal Johnson. He met and married my mother Barbara. And on August the 21st, the anniversary of the Haitian Revolution. August the 21st, the anniversary of the Nat Turner War. August the 21st, the original birth date of Jesus Christ. August the 21st, the date that Emmett Till showed up in Money, Mississippi. Dr. Umar Ifa Tunde was born in North Philadelphia. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess the faith of freedom but deprecate agitation are like men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain but can't stand the thunder or the lightning. They want the ocean, but they're scared of the awful roar of the water. Frederick Douglass said, a man may not get all you pay for, but you will pay for all that you get. And if we as a people are ever to become free of the oppression afflicted upon us, we will pay with its removal. We will pay with blood. We will pay with fight. We will pay with jobs. We will pay with our life. But nobody deserves freedom if he ain't willing to fight for it. Frederick Douglass said, for 20 years, I prayed on my knees to freedom, but the God above gave me no freedom until I got up off my knees and start praying with freedom. Frederick said, if you want respect from white people, why do you look for pity? The man who pities you will never respect you. If the man who respects you has no need for pity. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did. It never will. The most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. Without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life, but with confidence you have won. even before you have started. Marcus Garvey was once asked, Florida, Marcus Garvey was once asked, are you an African or are you a Jamaican? Are you an African or are you a Jamaican? And that little short, black, nappy-headed black man from Jamaica stood up and said, you asked me, am I African or am I Jamaican? And I tell you, I would never give up a continent for an island. I am an African, yesterday, today, and for all time. South Florida, one love, family.